Imagine this situation. An aircraft is flying at an altitude of over 11,000 meters, and all four engines suddenly shut down. This is a real story, and the words spoken by the captain went down in history as the calmest announcement ever made in aviation. On June the 24th, 1982, a Boeing 747, operated by British Airways, was flying over the Indian Ocean. There were 263 people on board. They were cruising peacefully through the darkness when the unthinkable happened. At first, the crew noticed a strange blue glow, as if electrical discharges were sliding across the cockpit windows. Then sparks began flashing along the wings, as though the aircraft were leaving a trail of fire behind it. Captain Eric Moody and his crew were highly experienced, with thousands of flight hours behind them. Bad weather, turbulence, emergency scenarios, all of this had been practiced at least in flight simulators. But nothing like this had ever been seen before. An alarm sounded, the one every pilot fears. First, the fourth engine shut down. A few seconds later, the second, then the first, and finally the third. In less than 90 seconds, all four engines had completely failed. Silence. At an altitude of 11 kilometers, losing one engine is an inconvenience. 2 is a serious emergency. 3 is a catastrophe. But 4, no one was prepared for that. It was supposed to be impossible. The captain was now at the controls of a 300-ton glider, with no thrust and no power, and 263 lives behind him. What had happened? The aircraft began to descend rapidly. Below lay the black abyss of the ocean, and the mountainous terrain of Indonesia. The crew had only minutes to find a solution. They attempted to restart the engines. Inside the cabin, passengers saw strange sparks. Then the aircraft lost cabin pressure, and oxygen masks dropped from the ceiling. The air filled with acrid smoke and the smell of sulfur. And then, a voice was heard, the calmest voice one could possibly imagine. The captain said, "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We have a small technical problem. All four engines have stopped. We are doing everything possible to restart them. I hope you are not too distressed. A small problem. For engines. Over the ocean." This was not just British composure. This was leadership. In the cockpit, there was complete chaos. But it was controlled chaos. The oxygen mask of the first officer, Roger, malfunctioned, and he began to suffocate in the thin air. The captain initiated an immediate descent to reach an altitude where breathing was possible without oxygen. The flight engineer frantically flipped through the engine restart checklists. They tried again and again. Nothing. 10 attempts, 12, 15. Each failure cost them altitude and time. 15,000 feet, 14,000, 13,000. Somewhere in the darkness below, mountains were rising, and then, at 13,500 feet, the impossible happened. Engine number 2 coughed and came back to life. Then the third, then the first, and finally, the fourth. All four engines. They had been dead for almost 13 minutes. After the descent and cooling, they came back, restoring thrust, control, and hope. But the danger was not over. Whatever had shut down the engines had also severely damaged the windshield. It had become almost opaque, as if sandblasted by millions of microscopic particles. Captain Moody could see nothing. The damaged aircraft had to be landed almost blind, using side windows, instruments, and guidance from the ground. And against all odds, Captain Moody landed the wounded Boeing 747 in Jakarta. No one died. All 263 people walked off the aircraft alive. Only after landing did the truth become clear. On the island of Java, the Galunggung volcano had erupted, sending a massive cloud of volcanic ash, up to 8 miles high into the sky. Flight 9 had flown straight through it, in complete darkness. Volcanic ash is not smoke. Its microscopic particles of glass and rock cannot be detected by radar. At night, they cannot be seen at all. Inside hot jet engines, the ash melts instantly, turning into glass and choking the turbines. The engines restarted only because the aircraft descended below the ash cloud, where colder air allowed the hardened glass to break apart. It was a miracle. But a miracle made possible only by the professionalism of the crew. This incident changed aviation forever. After 1982, global volcanic ash detection systems, instant airline alerts, emergency route changes, and volcanic monitoring programs were introduced. Captain Moody and his crew did not only save 263 lives that night, they saved thousands in the future. He continued flying until retirement, and his famous words are still quoted in aviation schools today. "We have a small problem, all four engines have stopped." That is what leadership is, calm in chaos, determination in fear, resilience in the face of the impossible. The main lesson is this: the impossible does happen, but you must be ready. Calm saves lives. Panic kills. Never give up. The crew tried more than 15 times. Had they stopped at the 14th attempt, no one would have survived. In just 13 minutes, they defeated the impossible. They could not see the cause. They could not see the ash cloud. They could not see the runway as they landed. But they kept thinking. They did not give up. And 263 people lived because 4 men refused to accept the impossible. This is not just an aviation story. It is a reminder that even when, in life, all 4 engines fail, you must stay calm, move forward with confidence, and never surrender.